Today we test ride the Merida Big Seven Elite 300. This is Merida's off-road e-bike that they offer. The frame we're testing today is a 20-inch model. They have a range from 16-inch up to 22-inch. The frame itself is made from hydroformed aluminium. You can see it's an aggressive looking bike, just the colour scheme looks rather nice. The hydroforming allows for the battery to be integrated into the down tube, as well as housing the Shimano Steps motor down the bottom as a mid-drive unit. The Shimano Steps motor is a torque and cadence-based system. It feels very natural to ride with. Because of how the torque system works, as you apply more force to the cranks, you get more assistance from the motor. The bike comes in at just over 20 kilos and it feels awesome to ride off-road. Wide handlebar stance gives you a good feel over the whole bike. Let's have a closer look at some of the electronics and components that are featured on this bike. The Shimano Steps motor is a 500 watt peak and 250 watt nominal motor. It's a mid-drive unit, which means that a lot of the weight that comes with the motor is down low and in the center of the bike, so it gives it a good center of gravity for riding off-road. The Shimano Steps motor is EN 15194 certified, which means it's legal to be ridden on the roads here in Australia. It also means that it has a maximum speed of 25 kilometers an hour. Now, it's not too bad out in the bush here riding at 25 kilometers an hour, but it does feel like you almost hit a brick wall when you do reach that 25 kilometer an hour peak. I wouldn't mind something a little bit more powerful if I was riding out on the trails every day, but it is definitely a nice feeling bike, especially with that torque censored motor. The advantage of the mid-drive system also is that you have your derailleur and your rear cassette to change the way in which the torque is delivered to the rear wheel. So instead of with a hub drive where you're fixed to one gear ratio, you have the multitude of 9 speeds, which also changes how much torque is applied to the rear wheel. The battery is a 36 volt, 11.6 amp hour pack. And the range on this bike is actually quite substantial. Because of the torque system, you have to actually be assisting the bike. You have to be pedaling and have to be putting a force in order to get any sort of power out of the motor. We've run this bike on our dyno and we set it up on high settings. We actually saw 48 kilometers before the battery was completely discharged. So you could see that some of the range indicators that the bike has are actually pretty accurate. And it does help that this is a torque-based system, so you do get a lot of range because you do need to be assisting the bike at all times. Battery comes out just here, key inside here, and swings out towards you. You can also charge the bike, charge it on the bike, or as the battery detaches, the charger unit has an adapter so that you can charge wherever you need to. Battery itself has a few LED indicators which can give you a guide as to how much charge is left on the pack. The bike's running Shimano shifters and derailleur, as well as Tektro 180mm hydraulic brakes. The brakes feel awesome. They give a lot of good feel for the bike. Let's have a quick look at the display unit that's offered on this bike. Now, as you can see, it's a backlit screen. It's a removable unit, so underneath the tab here, you're able to unclip that and slide it off. That also means that the bike itself won't be able to go without that unit in place. So if you do need, for security reasons, to have the bike immobilised, you can take that off. It's not a complete immobilisation, it still works as a normal bike, but you don't get that assist level that you would with the motor. Over here we've got the little thumb controls. It's pretty intuitive to have right next to your hands, like it's pretty easy to press the buttons. You've got one main one here, which cycles through your different modes, so you can get odometer, your maximum range, and then the different range modes that are available depending on what assist level you have. The assist levels are changed by these 2 up and down arrows. So at the moment it's in high setting. You've got normal, eco, and off. Off is like your normal push bike, like you can go ahead and you've got no assist whatsoever. And then your eco is your low sort of range, so you get a bit of assist but you get your maximum sort of range. And the range figures that we see here, like the 58, 73 and 82 kilometers, they're actually pretty spot on. There's a lot of e-bikes out on the moment on the market that don't actually provide an accurate reading for what the range will be. However, because I said this is a torque-based system, you do have to be assisting the bike, so you do actually get a quite significant range. The motor is quiet. You can hear it engage with each pedal stroke. However, if you're riding normally, you can barely hear the unit. You do hear it engage quite a bit when you're trying to travel up steep hills, and you do need that quite a bit of assistance. Bike's running Sun Tour forks, which have a hydraulic lockout. A lot of the wiring and harnesses that have gone on this bike are actually tucked away on the bottom side of the down tube. Makes the bike look a lot sleeker. And again, those red and black colour scheme looks very aggressive. Just take it for a short little test ride and see what this bike's capable of. So in high mode, you get the most amount of assist that you would out of the normal, eco or off modes. So let's see if we can hear a little bit of how the motor turns over. You can see also in the display here how much power is being applied from the motor. So as I go to pedal, you can see it engage almost instantly. And me, with just gentle crank movement, you still get plenty of assistance. So if I change down through the gears, increasing the amount of torque that the motor is able to apply. Now if I help the motor out quite substantially, or not even quite substantially, but just a reasonable sort of cadence level, I get a lot of assistance. Now some of these mid-drive units also have gear sensors that come with them, and what they do is they reduce the throttle, or they reduce the current going to the controller in order to sort of back off when you need to change gears. Because this is a torque system, you don't entirely need the gear sensor, because naturally you're not applying a torque when you go to change gears. You normally back off and ease your pedaling like you would do on a normal bike. And when there's no force being applied, there's no power being turned over by the motor. So it's really quite a fun bike to ride when you're in the low gears, because a lot of torque is applied as you turn the cranks over. So you can definitely do some high speed stuff on this. Wide bars give a good feel. But you will notice up here, if I hit more than 25 kilometers an hour, the motor will stop assisting me, like now. So you do need to do a lot more work if you need to do speeds of above 25 kilometers an hour. That's one downside to having a bike that's certified. But again, it also means that it's legal when we want to go on roads. Very fun bike to ride. I would like something a little bit more powerful if I was riding off-road. And because this bike's set up as a mountain bike, it's designed to be off-road. The EN certifications seem a little bit unnecessary. Overall, a very clean and very tidy bike. The torque system on the Shimano is awesome. For riding off-road and the trails here, it's definitely something that we want. It gives you a lot more natural feel as to how you'd ride the bike, and the power responds that way. I think the 25 kilometer hour limit is a bit of a hesitation. If you want to spend this amount of money on a bike, you do sort of want something that may be able to get you a little bit higher speeds. The torque system also can be an issue when riding on the roads. Like, I do find myself sometimes being lazy. After I've been riding for a couple of hours, I don't really want to have to apply a torque to the crank if I do want to get myself home really easily. So the advantage with the cadence system is that you can be sitting there and just turning the cranks over. As long as that sensor's registering that you've got some sort of movement in the cranks, it's going to be giving you that power. And because of the standards with the EN 15194, you also have no throttle with this unit. So you can't sit back and just sit at 25 kilometers an hour with the throttle like you do with some of the Bafang kits, like the BBS HD model. But overall, very fun bike to ride.